What's going on, guys? My name is Ryan. My beautiful wife Lindsay and I together, we are Rinzy. We are full-time shoe resellers, and welcome to our YouTube channels. This is episode 2 of what is in the box. The point of these episodes is to show you the pairs that we are sourcing, that we are going to flip, and also give you an idea of the ones that we passed on. This week we brought in 198 pairs. We are going to flip all 198 of them, but to keep this video shorter, we picked out 20 pairs. We're going to break down each and every single pair, I think 19 or 20 pairs that we are going to flip for profit. At the end of this video, we got some footage in the thrifts of pairs that we said no to, that we left behind, that we didn't think that would be good to flip. So we're going to show you that as well, so you can kind of see what we decided on, what made us say yes to some pairs, and what made us say no to other pairs. Hopefully, if we keep doing this, it'll help you leapfrog some of the mistakes that we have made and get closer to finding wins in every thrift that you go to and get quicker and get more consistent sales. Before we start episode 2, we want to give a huge shout out to one of our sourcers. We've recently been working on building a sourcing team, and our boy Jacob has done some phenomenal sourcing for us. And in the meantime, he's made a tremendous amount of money. In about 3.5 weeks, he's made over $1,000 in profit sourcing shoes for us in a region that we don't normally go. So we want to give him a huge shout out. Some of the pairs that we're going to go over here were sourced by him. We purchased them off him, and he is making a profit as we are building our team and reaching a little bit further into places that we don't normally go. So huge shout out to our boy Jacob. Now for episode 2 of what is in the box. All right, so the first pair that we want to show you guys are these Nike Flyknit trainers. Make sure the light doesn't really do it justice. These are kind of like a rose gold, light pinkish color. As always, we source shoes that have no rips or tears. They have plenty of tread, plenty of life left. You can see the size tag. Those are the basics. So all of these things have those, but we want to go a little bit further and tell you why we picked these up. When we first sourced these, they were super dirty, but because they are a Flyknit material, they're a lot easier to clean in the washing machine. We use Reshoevn8r. We do not clean all of our shoes in the washing machine. One, it's not as cost effective. 2, it really could mess up your washer, and it also could really mess up the shoes. So I would say less than 5% of the shoes that we bring in, and only a select very few, do we use the Reshoevn8r solution in the washing machine. This is one of those scenarios. Because it's the Flyknit material, even though it was dirty, we made sure we looked really close. There was no rips or tears, and it cleaned up really nice. Keep an eye out for Nike Flyknit trainers. The next pair I want to show you from the Saucony series. These are the Kinvara 9s. Saucony Kinvara 9s, Saucony Kinvara 9s. Again, really amazing tread, no rips or tears. You always want to make sure with any shoe, right around this region, right around the ankle where the foot goes into the shoe, that there's no rips or tears. If you come across the Saucony, look out for the Kinvara series. There's a bunch of different Kinvaras. These are the Kinvara 9s. Keep an eye out for those as well. Keds, we wanted to show you guys this. Keds are normally, we don't have any of the lows, they kind of look like small little flats. Now, of course, this isn't a small little flat. This is a boot. It's fleece lined. It's water repellent. That is why we wanted to show you guys Keds. This doesn't have a high resale value, but because of the additional attributes in this piece of footwear, we picked it up. It's winter. These are water repellent. They're fleece lined, so you got the warmth, you've got the water repellent, you've got a good brand. Keds is a good brand, but because of these additional attributes, I mean, everything, it's good tread, it's high quality, there's no rips or tears. Because it's got the additional attributes of being fleece lined, water repellent, it's a nice leather as well. That's why we picked it up. It'll be easier and sell quicker than the normal flats. If you guys know that usually you see them, it's a shoe that's really small and not as likely to sell as quick if it's the flat, but if it's got the additional attributes, grab it. New Balance, you guys obviously have heard of New Balance. This is the Fresh Foam Arishi. Fresh Foam is a highly sought after brand. Again, really good tread, no rips or tears up in this region, no rips or tears in the toe box. But Fresh Foam Keep an eye out for New Balance Fresh Foam. These happen to be the style, the Arishi style. There's a bunch, there's, what is it, Van Gogh, there's Xanta, there's a bunch of different Fresh Foam styles, but keep an eye out for New Balance Fresh Foams. Phenomenal, both men's and women's. We picked up these Nike Air Max Torch 4s. First of all, for the obvious reasons, it's a really sweet colorway. It's bright, it's got all the basics, meaning the tread is really good, there's no rips or tears, there's no funky smell. It's a great size. These are a women's 8.5, but the bright colorway really does well. We're gonna talk a little bit more about Air Max a little bit later when it comes to these bubbles, but if anytime you can find pairs that have a really bright colorway, it's a yes. Okay, next boot in the box. These are a pair of Keds Sorel. If you don't know about Sorel, keep an eye out. It's a very sought after brand, Sorel, and especially this time of year. A lot of the country, it's super cold and snowy, not all of the country, but again, you wanna make sure there's really good tread. These are a youth size 4, so we'll get these in men's, women's, and youth. The reason we wanted to show you guys this, it might seem obvious sourcing winter boots, may seem obvious to source boots that have good tread, no rips or tears, but in addition, when it comes to these eyelets right here, these metal eyelets, on anytime you have hiking boots or winter boots, you want to double and triple check these eyelets. You want to make sure, of course, that they're on there and they're not missing any of them, but also you want to make sure that they're not rusted out. You'll be able to see, it kind of looks like a white foam. Sometimes you can see it on the bottom of boats that have been in water or salt water for a long time, but you want to make sure that there's no damage to these ringlets when you're sourcing any boots, but especially Sorel. We got a couple more pairs of boots. Here is a pair of LL Bean rain boot wellies. These are called LL Bean wellies. Now the reason we wanted to show you guys this, the reason it's in this week's box, is because there's a lot of rain boots that look very similar to this that we pass on. Sometimes you'll see right here it says Western Chief, or it'll say Sporto, or sometimes it won't have any brand right here. It'll say something like, just simply say Steel Shank on the bottom or something like that. We picked up these and we pass on those because of brand. LL Bean is a global brand. It's sought after. The brand does all the work for us. It does all the branding. It does all the promoting its high quality, and it allows us to bring in a boot that looks very similar but is made with better materials. It lasts longer than the brands or the no brands that may look very similar. So make sure, again, these are LL Bean Welly. Make sure you are looking at brand when it comes to a rain boot like this. A little bit more diesel are BOGS. We've talked about BOGS before. It's a phenomenal brand, BOGS. If you can find BOGS, they're a winter boot, or they're a rain boot, waterproof boot, but they also make winter versions. This is neoprene. This is a very durable boot. Again, men's, women's, youth, all the sizes. This happens to be a women's 9. The biggest thing when it comes to BOG boots, two things actually. Right here in the heel and right up here where the different materials meet. Now the reason we say up here in the heel is because a lot of the times people donate BOGS because the heel is so worn out. Sometimes it's all worn all the way through, or it's too worn out for them and it starts to get slippery. Obviously these aren't worn out because you can still see the ridges. It's always literally the first thing we check when we're looking at BOGS is this heel region. The second section right here where this material connects with the neoprene, you want to make sure you're really giving it a tug, because this is usually, if it's ripped, where it's going to be ripped, is where these two materials meet. Obviously this passed the test, so this is a yes for us. Again, men's, women's, and youth BOGS all do really well. The winter version will usually have a symbol right here that says like -30 degrees or -10 degrees or whatever. That shows that it's got additional lining that makes it a little bit warmer in colder temperatures, obviously. All right, then we're gonna jump in. These are some of our favorite pairs right here. These are the old school Nike SHOX. Now, these are slightly different than the new SHOX. They literally this year they just came out with like the 2019-2020 version, but there's a version in between these old school SHOX and the ones that just barely came out that are a no-go. They were in the outlets most recently over the last 18 months, and they did not sell as well as these SHOX. So you want older than a couple years, or the absolutely brand new ones that just came out. These are the older ones. Now you may say, hey, there's no laces in these. Everything else passed the test. Original insoles are good. There's no rips or tears. There's plenty of life left in the sole. When a pair is in this good condition but doesn't have its laces, we will replace the laces. You can get them on Amazon. You can get them at the outlet when they're doing discounts. Usually by the front counter, it'll say like 90 cents plus 30% off for a pair of laces, and we'll grab the whole stack. This is very easy to put a new pair of black laces or gray laces or white laces in these, and you're good to go, and it's not as expensive, doesn't add much to the buy cost. Keep an eye out for these Nike SHOX. All right, the next pair we have is a pair of men's Nike Metcons. Now these are used indoor for weightlifting, for CrossFit. As you can see, it's got the super flat bottom. The tread is still good, because it's usually worn in mats. These are not meant to be, these are not trail running shoes. These are not meant to go running through the woods. These are meant for training in a gym, period. These are the Metcon 2s. These are a men's version. Again, no rips or tears. No rips or tears in the toe box. They've got great tread. These usually sell really quickly. Again, men's, women's. Haven't come across any youth Metcons yet, but if you find them, I'm sure they would sell good as well. These are actually a men's 11. Keep an eye out for Nike Metcons. Now, the next pair is a pair of Nike Air Max. Now, the reason we wanted to show you this, there's lots of different styles of Air Max out there. Almost every single style of Air Max sells really well. The old ones, the new ones. So if it says Air Max on it, if they are authentic, that's for another video. It is usually a yes, no rips or tears. The thing we wanted to point out here is when it comes to the big air bubbles, you really want to give it a pinch. It should be very, very firm. That seems obvious. It's a pressurized air bubble that creates cushion. Nike creates a lot of shoes that have the air in them, and you want to make sure that that air bubble is not popped. You'll know without knowing anything about the air bubble. You'll know if it's popped or not. If it's very, very easy to push in, then it's popped, and you don't want to get those. If it's got some high pressure still and it's hard to push that in, then you're good to go. Make sure you really, really check the bubbles when the Air Max has those. All right, the next two pairs we want to show you, we have both a men's version and a women's version of the Brooks Cascadia. Brooks is a very, very good brand. Whenever you can come across them, give it the once over, look up the comps and make sure that they are good, but Brooks are good. Now, within the Brooks family, these Cascadias are phenomenal. They usually come with a lot of tread. Obviously, you want to make sure that there's still a lot of tread left. If they've been donated, sometimes they don't have as much tread. We pass on those. These have a lot of tread. These are the men's Cascadia 8s, and these are the women's Cascadia 12s. Again, men's and women's sell really, really well for us. They're just a really well put together shoe. Again, Brooks, Cascadia, they make a bunch of them. Keep an eye out for them. Getting towards the end of the box, right here we have a pair of Danish clogs. Now these are the Sanita brand. When we first started, we passed on Sanita just because we didn't do our due diligence. We always would look for Danskos, which are in the same family. They look exactly the same. They're built exactly the same. So Sanita or Danskos are amazing clogs. Now, when you are sourcing clogs like this, again, both men's and women's, we've sold big men's. A lot of people in that are nurses or doctors or work in hospitals wear these. Any fields that are involved in the hospital, sometimes teachers wear these. You want to give it a good twist test. We're going to do a specific video about the twist test on a future video, but essentially what it means is you're literally twisting the shoe. And don't be easy with it. Give it a hard twist. The first thing, or the thing that usually goes, is the sole in Sanitas, and they'll crumble if you give it a good twist test. Sometimes you'll see these in the thrift and the whole bottom is out. That's because someone else gave them the twist test and they've been rotted out, which is good. You want to do that so that you don't purchase them. The second thing that you want to keep an eye out for is really give the pinch on the heel. There is an additional lining right here in the heel. It helps the footwear last longer, but if you give it a real pinch, and it starts to crack or crumble, you want to pass on that. The twist test passed on everything on these. These might have even been donated by a local outlet because they look like they've barely been worn. Great colorway. Sanita is a great brand. Keep an eye out. All right. Next up from Adidas, we have the Adidas EQ tees. These are the ADV 9116s. We've sold these in men's, women's, youth, all different colorways. They do sell really well. All the norm applies. You want to make sure good tread. You want to make sure no rips or tears. You really want to make sure with this lighter material that you're being thorough to make sure that there's no tears. But if all of those things are passed, make sure you pick up Adidas EQ tees. Sometimes, if you guys find these out in the wild and they have Gore-Tex, those are gold. You can sell those for 100 plus, 90 plus to be safe, we'll say. But if you can find these and they have the Gore-Tex on them, game on. A couple pairs left. You guys all know Vans. We do really, really well with traditional Vans. We do well with the Ultra Cush Pros. We do well with almost every pair of Vans that you come across. As long as they're in good condition, as long as they got tread left, these still need a little bit of cleaning. But the bright colorways, for obvious reasons, they're eye-catching when people are scrolling through the marketplace, do really, really well, and they usually sell quickly. They're also easy to clean. Keep an eye out for canvas Vans. We got 4 pairs left. Now, Hoka 1-1, if we could give one bolo, which means be on the lookout for this brand, it is Hoka 1-1. Again, men's and women's. Why? Because they do a great job of branding. They retail high. They've got a lot of sole. They actually have a thicker sole. They originally were made for ultra runners, ultra long runners, however you want to put it. People who run very, very long distances. They now have an entire line for any kind of runners, and they've got into some other lifestyle type stuff. We've seen some Hoka boots. We've seen the majority of what you see is for people that do some running. And because they have a lot of sole, literally like thicker than the average sole, even as people are using them and donating them, they still have plenty of life left. You still want to make sure that there's plenty of tread, that it's not worn down so much that it's flat. You obviously want to make sure no rips or tears. But anytime you can come across Hoka 1-1s, that bunch of different styles, men's or women's, make sure you're picking those up. Again, we keep our buy cost under 10 bucks. They usually will sell 40, 50, 60, 70 or above, depending on condition. We wanted to show you guys a pair of these Asics Gel Kayano 10s, these are the 19s, because we consider Asics replenishable. I know there's no such thing as usually replenishable means I can just order another run. We find Asics in every single thrift that we go to. You got to make sure there's no rips or tears, no funky smell. They've got good tread left. But it's our experience in multiple states, multiple kinds of thrifts that we come across these Asics. So we wanted to point these out. There's Gel Kayanos. There's all different kinds of styles of Asics. But it's our experience that not only can you find them in a lot of places in good condition, but the sell-through rate is very, very good. Keep an eye out for the Asics brand. All right, 2 pairs left. We'll show you these first. For obvious reasons, these are the Brooks Launch 4s, but more importantly, they're the London 2017 edition. Now, colorway is eye-catching. Brand is sought after. Condition is very, very good. Everything is looking good with this. But in addition, which increases the value a little bit and creates more value, is that it's a London 2017 collab. Sometimes you'll see a Boston collab. Sometimes you'll see a collaboration with a specific racing event. Those are very, very sought after, so you want to keep an eye out for those in Brooks, in Asics, and a bunch of other different brands. But keep an eye out for all those reasons I just said: colorway, condition, collaboration, brand. Those things are, make sure that these are a yes. All right, the last pair I want to show you is a pair of these men's Converse. Now, these are a pair of Chuck Taylor 2s. These are a men's 13. The lighting's not as good, but these are what's called like a 3M. They've got like a reflective colorway. The condition is very, very good. The reason we wanted to show you guys, and this is the last pair in the pairs that we're going to show you that we said yes to, and then we're going to get into the pairs we said no to, are you've got the brand, you've got the condition, but with Chuck Taylor 2s, with any kind of Converse like this, you definitely want to do the twist test, but you also want to do the pinch test. Now, specific to Converse, what you want to do is grab the Converse on the top by the laces and pinch the laces like that. Now, as you can see, right around here, there's no separation. With Converse, what usually happens, or what is going to be damaged first, is when you pinch here, it'll be separated from the sole. So you've got the sole, which goes into this upper material right here. If there is separation or any rips or tears right here, we pass on those. It's harder to identify. You know, you're looking around the shoe, everything looks good. You may give it the twist test and not see, but when you give it the pinch is when you can see if there's any rips. Keep an eye out for that. And if it's got rips or whatever right there, we usually pass on it. All right, guys, those are the roughly 20 pairs that we wanted to show you on this edition of What's in the Box. Now let's jump into some of the pairs that we said no to, so you can kind of see our mindset while we're out in the thrift.
Here is a pair of Reebok Zig Nanos. Usually these are a good pickup, but these are ripped right here, so we're gonna pass on these. Here's a pair of Brooks Launch 4s, good insoles. This is normally a pair that we keep good tread, but again, you want to be very thorough. Look out for those rips. That is a no. Carolina boots. These are steel toe. Usually they're waterproof. Usually this is a yes as well. If you look inside the heel, it's all messed up, so that's a no-go. Here's a dope pair of Nikes. These are vintage, but boom, on the corner, there's a tear. And they're pretty scuffed up. This might be good for a restoration project. We don't know how to fix that, but for us and our game plan, this is a no. Those of you guys know, we do really well with Keen, these Keen boots. We bring a ton in on consignment. These are good tread, but you gotta be super thorough. There's some separation going right here. Give it the twist test. These are a no. Here is a perfect example. This is the Saucony ISO Series Everrun. It's a really, really good shoe. No rips or tears. Everything looks good. The tread looks good. But when you feel in the heel right here, you can feel that it's broken. So we're gonna pass on those. That's one that's a little bit harder to see visually, so you wanna be super thorough. Feel inside the heel. That's a no-go. Here is a pair of the New Balance. These are 1080 V3s. These are usually a yes. These couple things, they don't have their original insoles, and you can see when you do the twist test there's some separation right there, so that is a double no-go. Here is a pair of Eric Costins. These are obviously Nike, but there's a couple no-goes. There is the rip up on the top here, plus the sole is starting to peel off, so these are a no-go. Here's another good example of what could be a good restoration project. The tread is pretty worn, so we're gonna pass on these. Plus we're already filled up with restoration projects. There's no rips or tears, but we're gonna pass on these. Another really good brand, Oboes. They do lots of hiking outdoor shoes. They're usually good all weather, but the heel is completely worn right there, so these are going to be a no-go. Here's a great brand, Sorel winter boots. These are a kid's version, but they're ripped on the top right here, so we are going to pass on these. Here's a pair of men's Brooks. These are usually a go. There's no rips or tears in the insole. Great vibrant color, but for us this tread is way too gone. There's a little bit of life left, but we want our customers to get pairs that have plenty of life left, so the tread is too far gone. These are a no. Here's another good brand, Teva. They do a bunch of sandals, good tread, except there's some ripping in the heel right here. So this is a no. Here's a really cool pair of Vans. What's this called?
Velvet.
This is like a velvet pair of Vans. However, when you look up close over here, they got a rip right there. And then there's some, you can't really see, there's some ripping in the heel right here. So we're gonna pass on these. This is another, usually a really good pickup, the Nike Free 5.0s. They're super lightweight, but these are just a little too dirty. There's no rips, which is good. The tread's still good, but this is a little too dirty for us. We're gonna pass. Here's another great brand, Saucony, whatever you wanna call it. cool colorway. There's some cleaning that needs to be done on the front, which we could do. Good tread. But here's another thing you want to look, the inside of the tongue. As you can see all around the tag, it's extremely dirty. That might even be blood, some kind of staining, so we are gonna pass on these. Here's a pair of New Balance Minimus. This is a great colorway, great tread, but as you can see, the heel is really messed up, so we are gonna pass on these. Broken.
All right, guys, that's all we have for you on this episode of What is in the Box. As always, if you have any questions at all, jump into the comments below. We'd be happy to answer any questions that you have. There's enough room for all of us to win. There's enough marketplaces for all of us to get our piece of the pie. If you ever see us in the thrift, if you ever see us driving by, give us a honk, give us a wave, come up, tap us on the shoulder, introduce yourself. We really, really love meeting people out in the wild. Until the next episode, we hope you are enjoying each and every single step of your adventure.